virtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Well, hello there, everyone. Matt here with virtualinstructor.com, and welcome to Gettin Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube, of course. Welcome. I hope everybody's doing great tonight. I was just sitting here chatting with Ashley and looked at the clock, and it was 8:30. So we're a minute behind, but I'm sure you guys will forgive us for that. Like always, I'm joined by Ashley. How are you doing this evening, Ashley?
Doing great, Matt. Thank you for asking. I hope you folks are doing well out there and you're ready to draw. Well, that's a lot of blue. I just looked at the screen.
A lot of blue, yeah.
I think I should have worn a different color. Blue on blue on blue.
Well, that's the blue side.
That's true.
You know, this is the orange side.
The orange side, but you're wearing blue.
Side.
You're wearing blue on the orange side. Should have worn orange on the blue side. Maybe next time. So I hope you're ready to draw along with Matt. I'm excited about his subject, and I was reading the chat a little bit, and I know some of you are too. So we'll see. Matt, you're working with watercolor tonight.
That is correct.
That's exciting.
Yep.
I know some people ask for paintings or painting medium here. It's a little bit more rare, so you should be in for a treat.
Yes, and I said 8:30. It's not 8:30. 6:30. Sorry. Well, you guys are all over
getting a little ahead of ourselves.
The YouTube audience is the best audience for finding people's mistakes and pointing them out. So very good. Good job.
They're sharp.
First of all, what we do here on Gettin Sketchy is one of us, we try to create a drawing for you or painting inside of 45 minutes, and we'll do that in just a few minutes. And we do this all live for you so that you can watch us sweat and see all of our mistakes and blunders, but also for you to learn. So hopefully you guys will follow along, of course. If you are new to the channel, or if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell. And from what I understand, you don't get notifications from YouTube anymore unless you go into your YouTube mobile app and click on notifications. So must be a new thing. So anyway, if you want to be notified when new videos go live and live broadcasts like this go live, make sure you've done all that stuff. I mean, that's ridiculous, but make sure you do all that stuff. Also, if you're watching the live version of this, you can comment, you can post questions. We do ask that if you do have a comment or question that's directed at Ashley or I specifically, that you use the super chat function. It does cost a little bit of money, but it goes to help out the channel, which of course is appreciated. And also, you know, you're here because you love to draw and paint. Check out the virtualinstructor.com. There is a link in the description below. You can also click on the QR code on your screen. There you will find an unbelievable amount of drawing and painting lessons, including courses. We do weekly live lessons, which are broadcast live and then recorded for members. And we also have a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers. And I also have about 550 plus critiques of member-submitted artwork over there as well for you to watch. So again, there's a link in the description below for that. And let's see. I think that's it. I
think that's everything that needs to be said.
Yes.
We're getting faster.
I'm trying to get faster. All right, let's go ahead and switch over. All right, here we are.
The palette cam up for you guys tonight?
Yeah, palette cam is back in action here. I'm putting my hands over the palette here. We also have the 3/4 view in there too. Now, this isn't going to happen every week, but this just happens to work with our format tonight with the image and the fact that we are painting and all that stuff. So I'm going to go through the materials real quick, and then we'll get into this. First of all, the photo reference that I'm working from is up here. And if you want to have the photo reference, if you go to the YouTube channel, which you're not on the YouTube channel right now, but in order to get to that, if you look for the little icon of my face in the lower left-hand corner, if you click on that, that will take you to the YouTube channel. Subscribe while you're there. And then click on the Post tab, which is about the middle of the screen. And that will take you to the posts, and you'll see this photo reference and a link back to the video so you don't miss a thing. But we'll have this up during the broadcast, of course. Listen, you're kidding, 45 minutes. Yeah, we are going to be doing this in the style of urban sketching, okay? So there's this phenomenon that has happened, and that is people have tied the process of line and wash to the phrase urban sketching. And that's because the most popular style of creating urban sketches is usually done with pen and ink and watercolor. So some people even approach me and ask, for urban sketching stuff, and really they're just asking for line and wash. So this is an urban landscape. These people are obviously in a city environment, sitting on a park bench. This is something that you might see if you're in a park. And we are going to urban sketch it. So we're going to combine pen and ink and watercolor. Now, this is going to be loose. Okay, so we are doing figures. That's going to be a difficult thing. There are 2 figures. We're going to include certain parts of the piece and certain parts we're going to leave out. We're going to add color to certain parts of the piece, and certain parts we're going to leave with just black and white ink.
So you're going to make some choices that make this doable in 45 minutes.
And I have not made those choices yet. I'll be making those choices live with you guys. Sometimes I'll do a little bit of a practice sketch. Most of the time I don't. I didn't for this one. I'm working on hot press watercolor paper, and I do believe this is Canson. Oh, no, this is Arch's hot press watercolor paper. There are different types of watercolor paper out there. There's different brands, obviously, but within each brand, there's different types. There's cold press watercolor, which is the most popular type, and that has a rough or coarse texture associated with it. And then there's hot press watercolor, which we're using here. And hot press watercolor has a smooth surface, kind of like Bristol paper, if you're familiar with that. Then there's rough paper, which is typically handmade, and it's very thick and heavy. And it has a surface texture very similar to cold press watercolor paper. But this is the hot press watercolor paper. I'll be sketching things out with a graphite pencil. I think this is 2B graphite in here. Could be HB. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to be drawing pretty lightly with this.
Pretty average.
Pretty sketchy. Pretty loose, light sketching. I'm only going to put in some very light shapes. Then we're going to start applying some ink applications, and I'm using my Staedtler pigment liner pens. Both of these are 0.3, so I'm just going to use one pen for this, or one width of line for this. I'm going to vary the line quality a little bit, but we're not going to get too crazy with the line because we're going to be doing the watercolor washes. I also have a vinyl or plastic eraser here in case I need it. And the watercolor paints I am using are the Winsor & Newton Professional Watercolor Paints. And I have these paints here arranged in my palettes here in the same order that they're in this set. So I'll do my very best to name the colors as I mix them, but this set has unique color names. For example, there's Winsor Blue Green Shade and Winsor Blue Red Shade. And there's Winsor Violet, and Winsor Red, and Winsor Orange, and my goodness. Really, we could call Winsor Blue Red Shade Ultramarine. And we could call Winsor Blue Green Shade maybe Phthalo Blue.
Probably Phthalo.
Yeah, maybe Phthalo.
It's like a
maybe
light
Cobalt.
phthalo.
I mean, it's pretty similar to both of those. So anyway, you might not have the same colors as me. So, and I'm going to be going very quickly. So if I don't name a color, please don't get mad at me. I don't think about the name of the color when I am painting. So I know some of you do, but I don't. I'm also going to be using an assortment of brushes. Probably end up just using 1 or 2 of these brushes, but I've got them all here. They're all round brushes and they're all nylon brushes. My favorites are these 3. These are Grumbacher Golden Edge brushes, and I really love this brand. Yes, urban sketching is typically a form of plein air painting or drawing, and that means that you are doing it outside or in the space. Doesn't have to be outside; it can be inside, but it's in the space in which you're drawing or painting. So we're not doing that. We're in a studio. But we can still kind of create a similar effect here. So, all right. Okay, so I knew people would have a problem with being figures, and
and they're not being buildings. And I've been reading the comments.
Yeah,
and but one of the biggest difference between a rural environment and an urban environment is the population density.
Right.
And there are people here. When I go to into the city, there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're in the way of me seeing the buildings. There's so many people.
Yeah.
So I think this counts. You know, maybe it's
It totally counts.
broader definition of what some of us might have seen on social media that is called an urban sketch, but they're definitely in a park. The only place you can really find a landscape, you know, in a city sometimes that's actually, so Matt's got, you know, there's trees, there's foliage in here, but the people are what make it urban in this case to me.
Yeah. Urban sketching does not mean buildings. That is architectural drawing, architectural rendering. There might be buildings in that landscape, but urban sketching, there's buildings in an urban environment. I'll give you that.
Because all the people have to have a place to go.
You guys are just ridiculous sometimes. Let's just make some art. How about that?
Right, let's do it.
Instead of being ridiculously critical.
That urban sketching term is pretty new. You might say it's still being defined.
It's really all line and wash, guys. It's really watercolor and pen and ink. All right. So
I love this composition, and after you get started, I want to talk about it a little bit.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start the timer here, 45 minutes. And I'm going to start with my light sketch with the pencil. I'm going to look at where the umbrella is, or where it closely is to the top of the picture plane. Then I'm going to figure out where I want to end this guy's foot. And I'm just going to kind of get an idea of where everything's going to fit on the picture plane. And we'll just go ahead and bring a little bit of a line here over. Then maybe the bottom of the umbrella is somewhere in here.
All right.
And I'm just very loosely sketching this out here.
Now, what is your paper size tonight? Do you happen to recall?
Yes, it is 6 inches wide by 6 3/4 inches tall. Oh, no.
The other way?
Yeah, the other way.
Okay.
The other way.
6 3/4 inches wide and 6 inches high.
Yes.
So not a square, but close to it. Yeah, and this just so happens the ratio that Matt's working with just really makes a perfect little space for that palette cam in the bottom. Now, did you crop this image yourself?
I did crop it, and I did drastically change the colors.
Okay.
Because the original image was very greatly washed out.
Okay, yeah, and this is very colorful.
So I bumped up the color contrast and bumped up the intensity of the colors. That woman's head goes all the way to the edge of the umbrella.
That's good. Good thing to note. See how loose Matt's marks are in here. Just looking for shapes and probably comparing the sizes of those shapes to each other, because there's no grid, you know, so you have to use the information you've drawn to help with the information you're drawing.
And I'm barely touching the surface of the paper with the pencil too. I'm trying to just very much make a very light marks here. And I'll tell you guys, you don't know this. You don't know how much time and effort we put in to looking for reference material. And I am not exaggerating. I've
looked so long that I've gotten frustrated and slammed my iPad closed and just went and did something else.
I looked for several days. I bet I spent at least over 2 hours looking for a reference photo because, you know, if it's something that you have plenty of time to do, it's not that big of a deal.
Sure.
But when you have 45 minutes to complete a drawing with people watching from all over the world and trying to talk at the same time with a medium that will respond to that shortened time frame.
You want it to be a compelling image nonetheless, not just doable in the 45-minute time frame. So those are almost like competing criteria that you have to satisfy.
This guy sits in his park bench like I sit everywhere. Just laid back
He is
here.
poured into it. Now, I love this image because of a number of reasons. One is the repetition. There's the park bench that's empty and the park bench that's full. The park bench that's empty has those horizontal lines made by the wood slats, and all that repetition creates a pattern that helps to balance the picture, because people are really heavy visually anyway. No matter where they're placed, they draw some level of attention, because we're people too, and we like to look at and watch people. Whether we like it or not, we spend a lot of time people watching. So there's the built-in visual weight of people. And then the fact that these people are, especially the woman, she's near the edge of the picture plane, so she carries a lot of visual weight. And then there's the empty bench. And without the pattern of the slats on the empty bench, it may not have enough weight visually to balance the picture, but it does. In addition to that, the horizontal slats act as a directional. It's like gravel or something, maybe, or cobblestone that their feet are on. But there's a smooth pathway that enters into the picture plane from the bottom edge of the picture plane, a diagonal, and that's always a great idea. Having a diagonal come from the bottom edge of your picture plane helps to lead us back into space, and it leads us right back to that park bench, which dropped us back off at the people. So it's a really great composition for those reasons to me, besides the umbrella. I mean, come on. It's a beautiful sunny day, and they've got their bright blue umbrella out, which is a little unusual, and it adds to the story. So all good things.
Well, I think it's pretty funny that back when we were teenagers, Ashley, it was not cool to wear socks with sandals.
That's true.
It wasn't cool to do that. And nowadays, it's cool to wear socks with Crocs.
So I do that. I do that. Does that make me cool?
No, that makes you uncool.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
I had given up on coolness.
But my son does that. My son's pretty cool.
Well, and a lot of my students, they wear sweatpants with socks and Birkenstocks, which to me seems crazy. They're wearing leather shoes with sweatpants, like leather lounge shoes. But, I just don't have my finger on the cool button anymore, I guess.
Did you ever have it on the cool button? I think we did.
I think so. I would like to think so. Now, the pictures don't say so. How anytime you look at pictures when you're younger, everything looks a little strange, because fashions have changed. So, but if it's fashionable, that means that it was cool for a time period. So it has to look a little bit strange further down the line once you get farther into the future. We wore baggy pants, kind of baggy pants. Then they got real tight. I wasn't fond of that, but that's all you could find in the stores. Skinny jeans. I don't imagine this fella's ever worn skinny jeans.
You never know.
And there's a lot of, at least in the people, there's a lot of blue and orange, or a warm and cool color contrast. But he says, your references are so great. The more I watch them, the more they teach me. Sure, you can learn from, we talked about the composition. Matt hasn't even made the artwork yet. So there's no harm in doing a little compositional critique even before the images. In fact, I was working with a student today who is going to be making a still life, and it was a lot of fun. We set up her still life. We had a backdrop. We used some different settings on our camera, and we had a little photo shoot with her still life objects. And we talked about how, even though we were moving slow, we spent a whole class period taking photographs and then making small adjustments to the contrast in Photoshop, and we used the burn and dodge tool a little bit, made really tiny value changes. But what we talked about was how the time that we're spending and the decisions that we were making before we started making the artwork are going to directly contribute to our success or our lack of success. And what we don't want to do is, and Matt talked about how long he looked for this image, is rush deciding what to draw and paint and how it ought to look in our reference, and just jumping into the artwork. Because we're going to spend, well, in this case, 45 minutes, but in some cases, a week or 2 weeks or more working on an artwork. And if you rush the decisions that you make in the beginning, you'll regret that later when you're bogged down in a composition that you're not really interested in, or isn't a good composition to begin with. You're going to be looking for ways to save it instead of working towards that reference. So it's definitely worth spending the time in selecting references carefully, or in the case of my student, creating a reference very carefully. So it was a simple composition, simple objects, and we took probably, 15 or 20 different pictures arranged in about 3 different ways. And then, like I mentioned, with a few other variables built in. Definitely worth the time. Those are the most important decisions. After that, you're just enjoying your medium and going through the motions of making comparisons and making changes.
We'll get this little bit of this second bench in here.
Yep, I think the spacing there between your man and the bench looks good. And
it wasn't quite right at first.
Mm-hmm. The angle of the bench is looks like whomever took this photo took the photo at about the height of their knees. The top of the bench is going uphill a little bit as it comes towards us. It's kind of a low angle. Mark says he likes the sandals with the socks. It's the small details that reveal a bit about the subject's character.
Yeah, I like it.
He prefers comfort, not concerned with fashion. So he marches to the beat of his own drum. Bear in the Garden says you're rocking this sketch. Maybe you should just forget about that watercolor. This pencil drawing is looking really nice. Look at all that line quality in there.
I know. I need it. I need it in there. I'm short circuiting here. I want it to look loose. I want it to be loose and quick looking.
You're going to leave out the little man in the background, or are you going to?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't think I have time to add all of the details.
Right. You have to pick and choose. And even if you were working on this piece for longer than 45 minutes, it doesn't mean you have to include everything, for it to be successful. You still want to make those, especially if it's from a photo that you did not take from yourself. And I guess if you're snapping pictures for urban sketching, you can't control everything that's out there anyway. It's not like a still life where you have all the control in the world. You can't necessarily tell that man in the background to step out of frame. Now, maybe getting your clock cleaned. You don't know who you're talking to, so you might not appreciate that.
Actually went too dark. I need to find a kneaded eraser.
Mm-hmm. He needs a kneaded eraser, which are mostly for value adjustment more than fixing mistakes.
And I can't find one.
Oh my gosh. I'm looking around myself.
Where's my kneaded eraser? It's attached to my arm most of the time. Yeah, I bet it fell on the ground.
Well.
All right. Don't see it down there. Wasting time. So I'm gonna do a light erase.
Just use the vinyl eraser.
Oh no, that's
no. It's just gonna now it's shading.
You know what? We're gonna go right over the top of it. Just deal with it.
If you want, you can start with a pen, and I can look for a kneaded eraser.
Yeah, if you'll look around. I have no idea what and where it is. All right, so with the pen marks here, I'm going to keep this loose and fresh too. Some people like to only use a pen with no graphite at all. And with the complexity of this subject, I just think that that is a little too much. A little too much to try here. Actually, it honestly might be underneath the desk here. I mean, it's usually up here. Do you see it?
No.
It's usually.
Drawer.
I know. I don't see any of the kneaded erasers. No, it's usually right here on the desk all the time. Usually is never missing.
All right, I crawled around on the floor and I can't find it anywhere. I know that sometimes I walk off kind of sculpting my kneaded erasers and set them on my desk or other places, but it's a real mystery.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. But I do want to get rid of some of the pencil lines that are gonna. We'll keep looking.
Catherine A wonders if it's under your palette. Only thing under that palette is a year's worth of pencil shavings. Oh, under the palette? No. I think it's too. I drew last week, but I don't think I took your kneaded eraser. Have you used it since then?
No. I bet you haven't.
I'll have to check my pencil box.
It won't be. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Because it is always on my desk.
Yeah. See, I drew in charcoal, white charcoal. I don't remember. I remember having one because I used it to prop up my pencils last week to talk about. But I also have, of course, a kneaded eraser in my pencil box. But I'll check to see if there's two. What am I going to take from Matt's studio this week?
Well, it would be nice to have it right now.
All right, let's see. Enrique has a question. He says, do you think that I can use 0.3 millimeter mechanical pencil to do this drawing? That is tiny. So you may be able to, but I cannot draw with 0.3. I press down too hard. Now, Matt did draw with a very light touch, but some of his marks ended up being rather bold. You can, as long as you can keep that tiny, tiny pencil lead from breaking. This is a small picture plane at only 6 inches, so I don't think it's, as long as you don't mind those really thin marks and you can see them. Because you do want to keep it light. And so maybe using the very thin mechanical pencil lead will help you keep from making your lines too light. Then you won't have to find your kneaded eraser. All one word cap says, someone asked if you always start with the figures. Matt, you mostly did. You kind of just sketched in where the umbrella was going to be and then went to the figures from there. And they are, of course, but I could see someone wanting to find where the benches are first, possibly. Did you think about that when you started?
No, because if I get the bench proportions wrong, that's not that big of a deal. But if I'm way off on the people, then it's going to be pretty noticeable.
Okay.
So, the people are the most important.
And that was
I have a tendency to
go ahead
to start in the focal point and work outward from there.
Especially with the time limit. You want to make sure you get the focal point right. Very good.
Made the leg a little shorter on this side, but I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal.
Keith has a good question. He says, once the ink is in and dry, can't you completely remove the pencil with a vinyl eraser?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, but the vinyl eraser has a tendency to smear. Really, what I wanted to do is just lift up the graphite. And I cannot believe I've got a kneaded eraser in a package somewhere behind me, but I can't. A new one.
Oh, a new one.
Yeah. But I obviously can't go look for that right now. I did not really foresee. You can ask Ashley before we started. I said, well, maybe I'll need an eraser. I didn't even think to look for the needed eraser.
June says, my woman looks like a man, so my bench is 2 men. Well, you know, they say the longer you're married, the more you start to look like your spouse. So maybe they're just coming together. I don't know if that's true. Some people say you look like your pet.
Or your pet looks like you.
Maybe that's why I have started looking at hairless cats. My wife is against the idea.
I would be against the idea, too. That you really want a hairless cat?
I wouldn't mind. I think they're cool. You probably have to, you know, knit it a sweater. Keep it inside during the winter. But then I would look more like my cat. And right now I don't, unless I wear a tuxedo. All one word Cap says the best thing about a cat is the fur. I know they're so soft. They're so soft.
Well, I'm allergic to cats, so
then the hairless
I don't really
cat is
like
for you.
their no. The no cat is for me.
That's one way to solve your allergy problems.
I'm you know, I've made it clear. I'm a dog person.
You had a tough cat one time. Tough cat to live with.
Yes. That's a whole story.
Yeah. That cat's easy.
I had great cats before that. But after I went away to college and came back home, like I could not be around my cat anymore. I sneezed. I mean, a sneeze,
Got
eyes
worse.
water. It's like I've been sprayed with pepper spray.
Sonia says that hairless dogs are cool too. And I've seen those, or some of them are mostly hairless, but they got like a little bit of hair on their ears and the top of their head. All right. And you're keeping your pen lines pretty loose too, in the spirit of the pencil.
Right. In the spirit of the style, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that urban style. If you're too careful, it won't have that feel that you are capturing a moment in time. It's one way to communicate that.
That freshness.
Mm-hmm. Matt, do you ever use an umbrella in the sun?
Yeah, when I'm at the beach.
At the beach, yeah. I guess that's pretty acceptable there.
And I know people who use umbrellas. It's to keep the sun off. It's not that unusual.
Now, I've started doing that some occasionally when it's super hot on the golf course. And and I'm lucky enough to be hitting my ball in the middle of the fairway where there's no shade. Break out especially if it's slow moving out there, I'll break out the umbrella every once in a while. Well, I think you've done a great job keeping the gesture of the people, because they're both sitting right next to each other, but their posture is different from one another.
Well, thank you.
All right, our sandals are in place now. Do you plan to do much shading with the pen? Or
I'm going to try to do as much of the adding of the shading and everything with the watercolor.
okay.
And I may come back with the pen if necessary later.
That's a good point. You have the option to go back and forth if you wanted to with pen and watercolor.
Just going quickly, trying to keep it really loose.
Your buddy says she's almost getting dizzy by the fastness of the sketch.
You know, I need to have some time to make some watercolor washes. And
oh, you've still got 20 minutes, and the watercolor does cover quickly. Goes down, cover space pretty fast. Pretty strong light in here. You can see that on the couple's legs, how, 1/3 of their legs in a strong shadow. And the umbrella is really nice because it's sort of plane oriented. So you've got the dark, medium, and light segments of the shade. Really communicates the light and the direction of light.
ready for the watercolor washes here. Boy, I wish I could find my needed eraser. Really would like to have it right now. Let's see if we can get rid of some of this with a gum eraser, which crumbles.
Crumbles, but it's pretty gentle.
Yeah. Here we go.
Look at all that texture.
It works.
It looks like that did a pretty good job.
No worries. Y'all can watch me in my franticness over here. All right. Let's start with some of the skin tones here. So grab a little bit of a smaller brush here. This is a 0 Grumbacher brush.
Okay.
And let's see. We're going to grab a little bit of Windsor orange out here and a little bit of Scarlet Blake. And grab a little bit of yellow ochre. Get those a quick little loose mix here. And then we're going to add just a touch of some Payne's Gray too.
I'll knock it back just a little bit.
All right, we're going to start on the woman here. I've got a paper towel handy in case I got a little too strong here.
And of course, a lot of the intensity is controlled by how much water Matt has in his mixture. Value and intensity.
Grab a little bit of burnt sienna in there too.
Knights of Lavender says, if the eraser is in my pencil case, never say that it was. Yeah, I'll just sneak it back over and put it in a weird spot inside of the drawer. Be like, oh, I found it back here. And it was under a ruler.
I bet you've got it.
Well, yours was pretty well used, right?
Yeah.
So we'll know if I've got it, because I feel like it was like darker and maybe a little less pliable than the one that I've been using. It's hard to recognize them. You know, they're all just gray blobs, but you get to know them. You get to know you needed an eraser.
Got a little yellow ochre in here too.
I had the pleasure of introducing a class of students to what in the world a kneaded eraser was today. And boy, people light up. First time they've ever seen one of those things. They were going crazy with them. Of course, the only rule, don't drop them on the floor. They get all gritty, get dirt, little speckles of dirt in there, and you definitely don't want to rub that across your artwork.
Grab some of these.
Yeah, those really warm skin tones are where a lot of the orange is that complement the blues in the picture. All right, Sonia has given us a super chat, Matt.
All right, thanks.
She says, "Why do you only have a single kneaded eraser?"
Well, I put them
with a
together,
laughing emoji.
I have multiple kneaded erasers. There's a couple in a package behind me, but I got to go find that package because who knows where it is. And I think I'm gonna go back and put some of the patterning on her shirt later.
Okay.
With the pen, if we have time. I'm just gonna put a little indication of it here and there.
And when you get a chance, make sure we give Sonia our cheer.
Right, definitely will. And it looks like I missed part of her shirt here.
Oh yeah, that is her shirt. See that color now.
Go ahead and grab a little bit of purple and a little bit of blue and a little bit of Payne's Gray here too. And maybe just a touch of black. There we go. Here, a little bit of color.
But he likes the permanent palette cam. She says, "Thanks for showing your palette too. This is great."
You're welcome.
Yep, and it's probably a little smoother for you too, Matt, not having to
way smoother.
Work as many buttons, you know, and remember to switch to the palette camera. Just stay in your process.
I am at the buttons. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of cerulean blue, actually. Put a little bit of light.
What a great pigment.
And I'm going to do that on his head, too. He's got a little bit of blue back here. A little bit purple feel in that hair.
And did you just go back for clear water to soften that gray and purple in the hair? Okay. Just to drag a little bit.
Trying to hurry here because just
the name of the game.
The clock.
Yeah. Matt's got to finish drawing them before they get up and walk off. I used to do some, I guess, urban sketching with people, but it was before it was called that. And it was just, I was just drawing other kids on my college campus, some 28 years ago or so. And very similar to this, there was a park area, and people would lay down in the grass and study. Sometimes they'd fall asleep, and that's when I would draw them while they were sleeping. They'll never know that they're in my sketchbook.
Totally not strange at all.
Not creepy at all. In my mind, I thought I would see them and say, "Ooh, they're going to stay still for a while," and so that's why I picked them out, because of their stillness. Yeah, in hindsight, Jen, it probably does seem creepy. But, I was close to the art building, so I was in an environment where people were drawing and used to seeing people draw. So that the context, that helps a little bit. It would be more creepy in another place, maybe, or maybe I'm just telling myself that.
I think it's pretty creepy.
Is it creepier to take pictures of people in public or draw them? What seems creepier?
I think both of those kind of fall into a similar category.
Same category, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Confessions of an Urban Sketcher. Oh, I like that. Jen thinks they're equally creepy, but Sonia says creepier to take pictures. I think so too. Taking pictures seems sneakier because if you were trying to be, because drawing a picture of someone's not very sneaky. It takes a little while. You get this big silly sketchbook out on your lap, so you're definitely not hiding what you're doing, which to me communicates that you're not of nefarious purpose.
Actually, quite a bit of purple in this woman's leg here.
Which is, it's good to see that color because there's so much orange around there. Lots of secondary colors in her body. But he says, when I take pictures of people on the street, to ask them for their allowance. That's very polite to do. Not legally required, but very polite to do.
This Ashley knows about it not being legally required.
Now you're in public,
Mm.
But remember, we're all in the background of people's vacation pictures. If you've been on a vacation, you're in somebody's background. It's funny to think about.
I'm going to give these pants a little bit more stronger color here.
In fact, we took our kids to a concert when they were kids, when they were small, rather. And then a couple years later, we made friends with another couple that had kids that we met. And we were looking back at those old pictures a few years after that and saw them in the background of our pictures. So we had some strangers in the backgrounds of some of our family pictures that we later became friends with. So it's almost like they were supposed to be there. And it's funny, and they were looking at the camera. So it seemed even stranger. So who knows?
Okay, we're going to be pretty strong with the color over here. This is going to be in shadow. I don't know how we're going to get this finished, but Keep trying. All right, light cerulean blue here, washed out in the sunlight a little bit. It's too strong.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, if you're thinking about security cameras, gosh, we're all over those things, aren't we? They're everywhere now. Of course, I guess a lot of that security footage probably nobody ever looks at unless something bad happens. We've got a question here from Mike. He says, Ashley, when using colored pencils, drawing something such as a football jersey with pleats that are shaded, do you put in the shades for the pleats as you go, or do you go back and do that later? I think that I would probably go ahead and find them lightly with a color that's going to mix to be that shadow color first, and then start working with maybe. And I don't think that's required, because you can go over a lighter color with a darker color pencil. But I would go ahead, like for example, if it's a red jersey and I was going to use an indigo blue in the mixture of that red for the shadow color, I would go ahead and put a little bit of that indigo in where the shadows are before I started hitting it with the red. What about you, Matt?
I'll have to hear the question again. I'm sorry.
The question was about shading with colored pencils, and you love colored pencils.
Right.
And the example is if you were shading clothing like a jersey that had pleats in it, and so there's some little shadows made by those folds. Would you put in the shading for the pleats as you go, or would you go back and put that in, like over top of the color of the jersey?
I would take it, and I'm still not fully understanding, but I'm just going to answer this
the way you imagine it.
The way I imagine it. And that is, I would just take it a little piece at a time. That's kind of how I like to work with colored pencils. So I don't really think in terms of layering specific textures. I think in terms of layering colored pencils instead, like actual colors. So it really, the texture is less relevant. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Am I understanding?
Whether it had a texture or it was a color that you're going to mix, you're still thinking about what colors you need to layer to mix to create that
right
color.
within a very specific smaller area.
Okay.
So I'm not really thinking about like the order of textures. I'm thinking more in terms of the order of colored pencils that I need to apply.
And that is the case whether you're working on an area that's smoother with less or an area with more texture. You're still thinking about what combination do I need to capture a certain color. So It sounds like Matt would shade as he goes, unless the color of the pleats was like a single primary color that required no mixing. Sounds like he would kind of shade as he go. And I
would totally shade
too.
as I go.
Yeah, I would too. As opposed to putting those things on last on top of a flatter shape. Good question. All right, looking good, very colorful.
Yeah, I'm trying to exaggerate the colors a little bit, and I'm kind of forced to here because of the time, but try to get some of this contrast between the shadowed areas and the non-shadowed areas.
That seems to be part of the story of this picture. It's where's the umbrella shading and where is it not. To me, they're keeping the sun off with the umbrella to stay cool in the sun. Not to avoid the sun, because they've got their legs out there in the sun, soaking up that vitamin D, just trying to stay cool on a warm day. Buddy says this sketch is fantastic, and it looks like she most loves the loose style and the colors the most.
Oh, thank you. A little heavier with the shadow up here. I'm showing I got so heavy with that darker color there.
All right, those darker shapes really start to tell us more about the light and the intensity of light in this image.
A little bit of shadow underneath.
A little
them
bit,
here.
yeah, a little shadow on that bench shows us that
We have these.
they're on it. Cast shadows. Further communicates our light's intensity. Looks good. I like those.
I know the time's up.
And you know what?
But it's not up for me.
I was so into watching you paint, wasn't even looking at the time. Forget about that time.
I'm not going to bring any green into this. I know that there's like the little greenery and stuff behind it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to
keep it a simpler color scheme.
Yeah, keep it
like
a little
real tight,
simpler.
real tight.
We're going to put some color on the umbrella now. Start with where it's going to be the darkest.
Mike C says, do you have an easy method for renewing the end of a blending stump? I've been shaving the end with an X-Acto knife. Last week, and I think I might have done it on camera a little bit, I can't remember, I used blending stumps, and they were so dirty, and they had graphite on them, and I was working in charcoal, and so I cleaned mine off with a piece of sandpaper. The sandpaper, little tear-off strip sandpaper blocks that I think come in some drawing sets that include the stumps. Now, it's not the tortillan, which is hollow. You know, they're a little more delicate. You just use those and throw them away. But those thick, like tightly rolled hard stumps, I use sandpaper for that. And then sometimes when I do, there's a little bit of loose paper, fuzz, if you will, at the very tip of the cone shape. And I use an X-Acto knife just to trim that off. The X-Acto knife works, but sometimes you get those flat spots on there, you know, and it doesn't lay down as flat or as evenly on the surface of your paper when you use the X-Acto knife, or not, at least not if you sharpen them the way I sharpen a pencil. And so give sandpaper a shot, and it's probably like a 225 grit or something like that are on those little sandpaper blocks that come with some drawing sets. Now, some folks don't do that. You know, they just have their stumps with charcoal on them, and then they have different stumps with graphite on them, and different stumps with maybe even pastel. But I clean them off. Never gotten to the bottom. I've never worn one all the way down. You don't have to wear off much paper before they're relatively clean. All right, we have another question from Enrique. He says, do you paint the shadows just with purple, or are you mixing complementary colors? Good question.
I'm using a lot of Payne's gray in the shadows with the color.
So he's knocking the intensity down with the gray, and it's not as dramatic as using the black in your set. Payne's gray is a wonderful pigment.
And Payne's gray is cooler. It makes a great shadowy gray. And speaking of which, we're going to put a little bit of that on the bench.
That's good. I'm glad you put some on the bench behind her.
Well, it needs it.
Yeah, it really grounds her.
And he's got
just like you did under their legs. I like this style where you kind of work up your focal point, and then you work around it just a little bit less, and then far from your focal point, you know, you leave it really sketchy. I think that's a nice style, and I've seen that done, in fact, with buildings. And I don't know if they were considered urban sketches because these were big watercolors I've seen before. Big watercolors of cathedrals where one part of the cathedral was really detailed in pen ink and watercolor. And then as you got farther away from that point, there was less and less material until you just had just pen lines for a great portion of a cathedral's facade. Great way to emphasize your focal point with level of detail.
Okay, just a little bit of pop of color here and there. Let's get a little bit more cheeky there.
A little cheeky.
Got a little stronger.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Really strong.
Because it's a hot day out there. It's got flushed cheeks. Catherine A says, do you ever finish these sketches off camera? I'd like to see them if you do. Have you ever worked on a sketch from Gettin Sketchy after the program ended?
No. I wish I had time to do that.
You get what you see is what you get.
All right, let's add a little bit of burnt sienna down here too.
Occasionally, I'll add a few more marks before it comes off of the board, but that's just like right after the camera goes off. I've never taken one out, after removing it from the drawing board and worked on it a second time, or pushed it further. Never done that. All right, working on the sandals a little bit. That'll make all one-word caps happy. Were
they concerned about the sandals?
It said shoes, and then a few moments later, sandals, and now yay sandals. Yeah, we talked those sandals up. We had to, and they're really, a major player, I think, because the same kind of colors are in those sandals as in the skin tone, and it kind of balances the man out. He's got that warm color in his top and bottom, and he's blue through the middle. Lord Engine says, nice line and wash. Is that the Payne's Gray you're using there?
Yeah, with a little bit of blue in it.
Okay. All one word caps is Mary Elizabeth. Thank you.
Okay, just a little bit more shadow here. Almost done, guys. Well, I'm not done. I'm not going to finish, but almost okay with where we end up.
Shell Bell says, thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Thank you. Now, Matt, is this your second drawing?
It is the second one, yeah.
And what was your first drawing? My mind is going blank.
The first one was the bird with pastels.
That's right. So you've worked in all color.
All color.
And I haven't used color yet, so we're going to have to flip-flop that at some point.
I might just try to work in all... Well, no, because I already know that I'm going to use white charcoal.
I know you had one planned that wasn't necessarily in color.
Yeah.
Tentatively planned.
Oh, no, I've already picked out the reference.
Oh, all right. All right. And I have to start thinking about what I'm going to draw or paint next week.
All right, I'm just going to take a stroke of dark over here.
But he says, if you don't have a Payne's Gray in your set, how would you mix it? Well, it is a gray, so it's mixable. And Matt did mention it's a cool gray. So you might use a little black, but put a touch of one of your blues into it very weakly, so it still feels neutral. You could actually mix that. If you're using tube watercolors, you could kind of mix that and then just let it dry. So you've got a cooler version of black. And of course, if it's Payne's Gray is pretty dark, but with this keeping or adding a little more water into it when you use the black. It's still going to come out gray on a white piece of paper. Oh, Sonia says, Happy National Cat Day. I had no idea. I have to congratulate my cat when I get home. Buddy says, thanks, Ashley. You could draw something that's in the woman's bag next week. Buddy knows I like to draw little objects. So, yeah, I could imagine what's in the bag. So I could call my season. What's in the bag? So far, she's got a pencil sharpener and a fork and spoon in her bag. Oh, that looks good. I love it
with
from
a
that
little bit of
angle.
distance there.
Yeah, I love that.
All right. Yeah, I'd love to put a little bit of pink back there. Boy, I'm having fun. I could keep drawing all kinds of stuff in here and painting all kinds of stuff in here.
I guess when you focus on the focal point first, you can almost just stop at any time. You can push it all the way or pull back like you've done tonight.
For sure. All right. I think I'm going to be finished finally here. I think I went, 7 minutes over and still could do a lot more to this. But
it fits the definition of the sketch, the urban sketch, I believe.
Right.
Feels like it was made on location, even if we're in the studio.
Well, I was rushed fast enough to do this, in a hurried fashion. But yeah, so what I was trying to do, clearly is just capture that urban sketching style, which has become synonymous with line and wash, even though, they're not exactly the same thing. You can create an urban sketch in any medium that you want, but when most people think of urban sketching, they think of this kind of style of artwork with the line and wash.
It's in style. It's in fashion.
This is something you would probably see in an urban environment in a park. So I know how much you guys like the combining watercolor and line and wash, and typically my style is, when I work with line and wash, is a little bit tighter, a little bit more controlled. But I do like getting into kind of more the designy kind of side of things, because you can start thinking about what you're going to leave in, what you're going to take out, and how you want to move the viewer's eye through the piece. All right, do we have anything else?
Buddy says this could be framed. And Mike C says, you guys could take turns doing live portraits of each other. Mike, if we did that, they would turn into characters. We would be making fun of each other, which could be fun. I don't know if it'd take 45 minutes to do that. I love drawing characters. But yeah, we could do that at the same time.
We just look into each other's eyes.
Right, and just stare at each other
for the whole hour.
You guys would love that, wouldn't you?
I don't think we're going to do that ever.
I don't think so.
All right. So we'll go ahead and switch over here. Well, alrighty, guys. I hope you enjoyed the last 45 minutes plus, because I definitely went over tonight. I will tell you that I felt pretty confident about this, and sometimes I feel pretty confident and run out of time. Sometimes I feel less confident and end up with plenty of time in the end. But there's some complexity to this. There's figures. There's 2 of them. We're using 3 mediums, basically: the graphite, the pen and ink, and the watercolor. And we're trying to create a certain style, a certain looseness. So all that combined does raise the challenge level a little bit. But once you get into it, you start doing it, this style is a lot of fun. It allows you to kind of release some of the pressure that a lot of us typically put on ourselves as artists to, capture everything in a photo representational way. So, really love doing this. I hope you get where I'm coming from with the urban sketching here. Ashley, do you have anything else for folks?
I just thought that was a great episode. Matt did mention it was really 3 mediums, and I guess you could always work without the pencil, but that puts even more pressure on. And pen typically, is a slow medium. We get really tight when we work with pen and ink sometimes and really squeeze that pen. So I hope you got as much out of this episode as I did in seeing Matt work with what felt like loose and free marks. They can be exciting, even with all that detail. You know, you're the artist. You have artistic license in what you include and what you exclude, and it was a great example of that tonight.
All right. Well, we got to get ready for the next show. I am working in pastel now for the next hour, which is kind of the same medium. It's not the same as pen and ink, but pastel is kind of, it's kind of the pigment.
It's like dry watercolor.
Yeah, it's like dry watercolor.
Yeah.
But it's completely different results. So anyway, for those of you who are going to be with us for the next hour, we'll see you in just a minute. For those of you who aren't, we'll see you next week here as Ashley will be doing the drawing. Do you know what you're doing?
I have no clue, but I like the idea of what's in the bag. So I might play that a little bit. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll go through my wife's pocketbook. I'm sure she'd love that. I haven't done that in years. And see if there's anything interesting in there we can draw.
God knows what we're going to be drawing next week. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, have a wonderful week, guys. If you watch the recorded version of this, leave a comment below and let us know what you think. And we'd love to hear from you. So we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.